Hello everyone, Rebels of Cloud9 here, and today I'm going to be building a rather different sort of model. I was asked by the people at Metal Kit if I'd take a look and build one of their models for all of you to see. I was sent this very impressive Seahorse lamp that has a unique steampunk design. I had just finished building a very long-term project, and so I thought that building this Seahorse could be a nice change of pace and something different from the usual styrene paints and glue that I'm more familiar with. I want to express first that whenever I take on a product for review, I'll only review it if I'm able to give my full opinion so that I don't mislead my viewers. This is very important to me, and Metal Kit agreed to let me share my own opinions and experiences with this product. Getting back to the build, everything is packed together inside this black box, with the parts separated in each bag clearly labeled with the parts number on the front. Inside the white box is a light bulb that will go into the center of the sculpture. There is also a bag with the tools included that you'll need to assemble the model. However, I found some of these tools weren't as good as my own, so that's what you'll see in this video. This Seahorse is pretty cool, and it's built out of all sorts of parts that you'd commonly find in a home department store. In fact, many of the parts I recognize from years of building IKEA furniture. The instructions are pretty clear as well, and in full color. The only issue that I really had with the instructions is that some of the pictures were too small. I made the suggestion to the company that perhaps they should include an online version where the pictures can be magnified. That being said, the parts were easily identifiable, and I rarely ran into a mix-up with the parts. I should also note that this particular Seahorse is a more advanced and at times very complicated model to assemble. There are some other models available on the Metal Kit website, and I'll include a link to their website in the video description down below. When my dad was young, he used to build and play with Meccano. Meccano was a metal construction toy that involved building with plates and screwing the parts together. I've seen some really cool Meccano models, and my dad would tell stories of all the sorts of things he used to build. This Seahorse is sort of similar to Meccano in that sense. I've liked construction toys like Lego and model kits ever since I was a kid, so building the Seahorse, for the most part, was very fun and relaxing, and I enjoyed sitting for a few hours and getting lost in the building with some good music on in the background. I had a very hard time recording this project, as sometimes the sections I was building would be very big for my desktop setup, and other times fitting the parts together was too difficult for me to properly record. Also, I realize that I have the issue that I'm putting a lot of the parts together that are really vague. It's not as simple as gluing a wing or a fuselage together. Even though this is a more complicated model, for the most part I found building it to be pretty easy. There are a lot of tiny parts that need to be screwed together, and a lot of building this is very repetitive. There are a few places that were a challenge, mostly fitting the ribs that go in the center around the light bulb and fixing them to the lower section of the tail and base. At times, some of the screws wouldn't really tighten with the nuts. This was a challenge, and given the small size of the nuts and the odd locations they were sometimes placed into. I never really found a way to resolve this, but as long as I wasn't moving the model around, the parts generally stayed in place. Another nice feature is that there are plenty of spares for the smaller parts, and when I had completed building the Seahorse, I had plenty of spare parts still left over. Each step in the instructions would have the parts needed and how many were required. So I'd first rummage through the box and identify all of the parts I needed for that step and separate them from the box. This would help keep my workspace neat and organized, and I could focus on one step at a time. I really like all the gears that are added to this model. They don't have a functional purpose and are simply for aesthetics, but I really like the effect that they added to this model. This was a really fun project, and I really love how all these common parts come together to create a really beautiful lamp that can be displayed in the house. There are times when this model was a real challenge to assemble, but I had fun problem solving these issues and figuring out how to properly build these smaller sections to create the finished Seahorse. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. And if you'd like to see the products available, I've left a link in the video description where you can see the Metal Kitor website. They have a lot of unique products, and for those interested in this same Seahorse model, Metal Kitor has included a link for a further 12% off the order. The link for that is also in the video description down below. Well, it was a lot of fun to play around with metal and gears, but I think I'm ready to return to plastic and paint. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, this is Rebels of Cloud9, signing out.